Hey everybody, this is Kennedy Hawk from the MCM team. We are here today doing a deck tech video on our YouTube channel for Groot Leadership. We are Groot. So what is this deck tech video all about? We're being a little more organized with our content and we're shifting things like we kind of do quarterly. We never really stick with one thing forever. We always shift and change what we think the community likes and what we enjoy to make. So for the next couple months, what I'll be doing is I'll be doing 1 to 2 deck techs a month, where I sort of redo my deck of the week series, but now instead of doing it weekly, it'll be every other week, and each one will be an audio cast, along with a gameplay video that is included on our audio feed for the podcast. We'll do 4 tier lists a month, so that's like 1 a week, and patrons for the deck of the week and for the tier list are going to sort of pick the topics for me, what sort of things they want me to tier list, what aspects they want me to look at, what heroes they want me to look at. So if you're interested in helping us decide what kind of content we make, you can support us at patreon.com/MCMpodcast. And if you don't want to, you can leave likes, comments, videos, or dislikes, or whatever you want on the videos, and I will get the feedback to make our content better and hopefully more engaging for the community. We're going to still do 1 to 2 gameplay videos a week in the Marvel Contest of Champions Championship. I've got like 4 or 5 done at this point, and I just have to edit them, and I'm trying to look for the play mistakes as I go along, and it's very time consuming, but they will get posted eventually. So we are further along in there in the Galaxy's Most Wanted region of that ongoing contest. But until then, this is a deck tech video on Groot Leadership. So let's get going here. We are looking at Groot Leadership, and I'm calling this deck We Are Groot. We're not going to focus on the card We Are Groot, and you'll see why in a minute. For each of these deck tech videos, what I would really love to do is I would like to sort of say what the goal of the deck is. And the goal of this deck is a Groot deck that I've been playing on my own for a while, and I've really wanted to share with other people and see how other people play Groot Leadership, to see what other people do with these cool cards. There's 2 cards in Groot's kit called I Am Groot, not to be confused with I Am Groot, and we're going to focus on those 2 cards. So one of them is a 3-cost event. It's a Thwart Superpower. Remove threat from a scheme equal to the number of growth counters on Groot. Pretty good. There's also a 2-cost event that is a hero action attack, deal damage to an enemy equal to the number of growth counters on Groot. So what we're going to try to do is lean into the leadership aspect and absorb villain attacks with our favorite thing, chump blocking, to build up 10 growth counters on Groot. These then become a 3 for 10 threat removal and a 2 for 10 damage events. Even if you only get them up to 8, they're still really powerful and efficient, and we're going to use our allies to sort of chump block and keep our growth going along the way. So that's what we're going to try to do with this. I've heard a lot of people say that Groot's best in justice, Groot's best in protection, and I don't think Groot is bad in aggression or leadership, and I think this is the deck that hopefully will highlight that. So let's look through Groot's kit. Groot's alter ego has 4 recover, hand size of 6, and hit points of 10, and an action, place 2 growth counters on Groot. So we're going to be flipping to get up to those 10 growth counters a little bit, and leadership can afford to do that. On our hero side, we have a 1 thwart, 2 attack, 3 defense stat line. Florida Colossus, Forced Interrupt, Forced. When a Groot would take any amount of damage, remove that many growth counters from him. For each growth counter removed this way, prevent 1 of that damage. So you really don't want to take damage as Groot, which is why we're going to try to use our allies to soak all those attacks. We've got some fancy ways to add growth counters, like Fruition, a 0-cost event that places 2 growth counters on him, or Root Stomp, which is deal 5 damage to an enemy. If this defeats that enemy, place 1 growth counter on Groot. So we're going to focus on ways that we can enhance or draw into those cards faster with the leadership aspect. Groot's got a lot of other cards in his kit. He's got 4 superpower upgrades that I would love to play, but all of them remove a growth counter to do something. And maybe in the end of the game, those are worth playing or those are worth using. And honestly, they're worth playing just to thin your deck if you're playing this deck. But for the most part, I'm not going to try to remove growth counters with those upgrades, so I'm not going to be using Entangling Vines, Vine Shield, Flashing Vines, or Vine Spikes, because I would rather get growth counters to make my events more efficient. There's also the event We Are Groot, where you remove up to 4 growth counters and place toughness onto allies or characters. That could be worthwhile, especially if you're going to then use those allies to soak a bunch of villain attacks. But again, you're delaying your getting to 10 growth counters, so we're not going to focus on the things that spend the growth counters, just the things that stack them and then deal damage or thwart with them. Alright, so we're going to go through in the 2 main categories that are used in this deck, and that is allies and events. So the allies we're going to include fall into 3 categories. We have cheap blocking allies, and those are going to be used to preserve growth counters, where they're going to soak damage and do things that make it so Groot does not take damage. We have setup allies, and these are used to set up growth gain with things like Root Stomp or drawing into Fruition faster, so allies that draw cards or set minions up to be defeated. And then we have our Endgame Madness allies, and these are to optimize Groot's deck once he's all set up and completed. You're going to want to be drawing into those I Am Groots as fast as possible. So if you include a ton of allies and events in your deck, it can be hard to get to them unless you're including a lot of draw and stuff like that along the way. All right, so let's look through those allies. We have our cheap blockers. We have 4 here. I have Ironheart, 2-cost 1/1 ally that draws you a card, so she also helps you cycle your deck. We have Ant-Man, who's a 0-cost ally. A lot of times I'll just play him for 1. Sometimes I'll play him for 2 so he can thwart and then chump an attack. We've got Kalu, which is another 2-cost ally, and he's going to look through the top 5 cards of your deck for an event, so you can imagine that's going to be really good with I Am Groots, so you can find those I Am Groots faster. And we've got Maria Hill, so 4 2-cost allies or 2 or lower cost allies. If you wanted more swaps, I put some hot swaps here in the YouTube video version of this. So possible swaps, you might swap in Blade. He's a 1-cost, real cheap ally. If he can save you 4 growth counters, it's totally worth it. And we've got US Agent, who can sometimes soak 2 attacks and ping tough and things off the villain to help set you up a little bit better. All right, for setup growth counters allies, we've got all sorts of weird things. So this is a really weird spot where you're wanting to draw into fruition more, and you're wanting to deal with minions and draw into your cards like Root Stomp. So I have 3 allies here. Again, Kalu is included because he can help you draw into Root Stomp, or he can search and grab a fruition, so you've played a blocker and gained 2 growth counters. Pretty good move for Groot. We've got Hawkeye because he can ping toughness off minions as they come into play, so they can be Root Stomped. Or if you have 7 or 6 health minions, he can do just enough damage to let your Root Stomp be active. So I don't use him typically to defeat minions as they're coming into play. I use him to set up Root Stomps. And then we've got Gamora, because Gamora, when she attacks or thwarts, is going to discard cards from your deck looking for an event. So even if she finds an I Am Groot and she cycles a bunch of other stuff faster, the things we mainly want during setup are Root Stomp and Fruition. And if she doesn't draw one of those, she's gotten more cards out of the way, so you get to them faster. So she's really good. So those are our setup growth counters. For possible swaps, you could swap in Squirrel Girl if you're going into a scenario with a bunch of tough or a bunch of 5 health or 6 health minions, so you can set up those Root Stomps. You could also use Black Knight to remove toughness and put a little bit of damage on a minion so that Root Stomp can finish it off. Alright, and finally we've got our Endgame Madness. So here we've got Kalu and Gamora again. You could include Maria Hill and Ironheart here as well. Anything that's going to help you cycle your deck faster is going to be good. I also put Nick Fury in here for that, and I think you could swap in White Tiger if you wanted to go with a little bit more of an Avengers build. Things that are going to push you through your deck to find your events so that you can just spam I Am Groot every turn and just go wild. That's what you're looking for. Alright, so overall allies, we've got 7 allies. We have Kalu, Ironheart, Maria Hill, and Ant-Man as our cheapos. We've got Gamora, Nick Fury, and Hawkeye rounded out the top part of our cost curve for this deck. Alright, for events, we've already discussed this, what events are in Groot's kit. So we're not going to talk about those again, but this deck has a whopping 23 events. So there's a lot of events, and those endgame enablers to cycle your deck are essential to making sure you get the right events at the right time at the end of the game. So every event we have included either helps us find I Am Groot more consistently, or helps our allies in soaking and protects our growth counters, which is what we're looking for. So the things that I call diggers, or things that are going to help us get to things faster, I include things like Assess the Situation. I have 3 copies of that. I have 2 copies of Strength in Numbers and 2 copies of Meditation. I'm not super happy with Meditation. I'd like to remove it for something else. It's really good for getting Nick Fury or a Hawkeye or something out early, so you're set up for your enablers for the rest of the game to dig for growth counters. But since you are flipping to Alter Ego quite often to get Groot set up to those 10 growth counters, but at the end of the game, this is just like a resource. It is a resource that you can dump into things like Ant-Man and stuff like that, so it's not the end of the world, but I'd like to find something else in that slot. But for now, it works out pretty well. Speaking of, I have some possible hot swaps, and I even tried some of these out while I was making this deck, and I liked Meditation better in my couple runs that I ran through, but you might find these to work differently. I really like Welcome Aboard. It can help with all of those allies reducing their cost, which is really good. Works on Groot in hero form, so you don't have to swap so much to use Meditation and get extra growth counters. I also think Call for Aid can be really good. If we go back and look at our allies, we've got 3 Guardians allies. So Hawkeye, who we kind of want to keep in play, Ant-Man, who might be in play or might not, but could be a really good cheap blocker, and Kalu. So if you know Kalu's the only Avenger left in your deck, he's going to be a summon Kalu and hopefully summon Fruition with Kalu, so you've gotten growth counters out of a 0-cost leadership event. That seems pretty dang good. We've also got growth preservations. These are things that are going to let our allies soak multiple attacks. So I have 3 copies of Ready for Action in this deck. And the goal of that is these allies are going to soak multiple attacks from the villain, so you can get Hawkeye down, and you could leave him down there forever and keep giving him tough as he's soaking attacks while you wait for minions to show up so that you can root stomp them. I also have 3 copies that make the call. That kind of fits under the other category as well. You can make the call into Fury, into Kalu, and into all these characters to really accelerate your gameplay. Alright, so the rest of the deck, as far as what we included, we've got our 3 basic resources. We have a copy of Triskelion just so we can have 1 extra ally out there in case we need a ton of blocks if we're going against Standard 2, and 1 copy of Deft Focus because Groot has so many superpowers. You get this down and you can sort of get those upgrades that we're not going to use out of your way without too much cost. They also work with your I Am Groots. Alright, and we are continuing our deck tech video / podcast with a gameplay video, or audio cast, however you're listening. So, we are going up against Expert Claw with Hydra Assault using Groot Leadership. We're focusing on trying to get as high as we can in growth counters, and we've set a real bad challenge up for ourselves because Claw has that treachery that deals 2 and heals 2. We can't really avoid that with our allies, so it's going to be a struggle to stay at 10, but we're going to see what we can do. So first things first, we're looking for a minion. We get a guard with tough. I'm going to get zoomed in here for the people watching on video. I messed up something and I got rid of side scheme 1A, but it pops at 6, so don't let us forget that. And we're ready to go, drawing 6 cards. So, we got 2 I Am Groots right away. We do not care about those right away. We got it ready for action. Triskelion, and make the call. That's 5 cards to throw away, just keeping Ironheart. And we got some good stuff here, so let's get things underway. We're going to get 2 growth counters from Groot right away. We will flip and use We Are Groot and Kalu to play Ironheart and draw 1 card. We will use Lashing Vines to play Deft Focus, and Deft Focus to play Vine Spikes. Spikes, that's the one. Ironheart and Groot will thwart for 2 on this Crisis side scheme, I think. And we will assess the situation, so we're drawing 6 cards. Alright, we drew into Nick Fury and Maria Hill. We're going to be able to play them both, assuming he doesn't discard something and say no from our hand. So we're set up for a pretty happy turn. 2-threat going to the main scheme. Claw comes swinging at us, and Ironheart is going to soak it. So she's going to take 4. We got rid of a Shadows of the Past and a Gang Up. Shadows of the Past going away is really good in this group matchup. Little guy hits us for 1. We're just going to lose 1 growth counter on that one. We're not stacking yet. We do get a Weapons Runner and a Hail Hydra, which is going to make us search out another minion. In case we needed more, we got him. Alright. That was pretty ugly, but we do have Vine Spikes. It's not the end of the world. We're going to use Energy, ready for action, and I Am Groot to play Nick Fury and draw 3. We will use Deft Focus to play an Entangling Vines. And we will use those vines with Groot to be able to thwart for 3. But first, I think Nick is going to thwart away Defense Network. Groot will thwart away the Immortal Claw. So all of a sudden, we got no side schemes left. We still have 3 annoying minions. So I'm actually going to rewind time slightly. And we're going to play Maria Hill first. Draw a card. She will thwart for 2 where Nick did. That way Nick can punch this Weapons Runner for 2 and get something off the board to help us out a little bit. Now we've got 2 copies of Root Stomp in our hand. We're going to toss one of them because we don't need to keep all of them. We can't really flip down because there's too much threat, but hopefully next round we can flip down and start building our tokens up. We got 2 copies of Fruition, so we're pretty good to not even have to flip to do that maybe. 1 threat going out on the main. Nick is going to soak a big villain attack here for 4. We'll get hit for 2. We have to discard a support we control from Flame Soldier, but we don't own any supports, so I do go down to 8 health, surprisingly, as Groot. We get 1 encounter card, which is Wilt. We're going to flip over Exhaust and get rid of that thing. Never want to see that again. And we're good to go. We got a free flip, kind of. So yeah, we'll take our 2 growth counters from flipping. Flip back to hero form. Our growth counters disappeared here. We're going to put him next to Groot because I'm afraid that I'm going to lose him when I'm flipping him constantly. We will use Deft Focus and Ready for Action to Root Stomp away the Hydra Goon, going to 3 counters. We've got 2 copies of Fruition, so we're going to go up to 7 counters. And we will assess the situation once to draw an extra card. And we're going to keep Maria to chump block here, drawing 6 because of assess. 1 threat going in the main. Maria is going to chump block against Claw for 3. We get hit for 1 from the Stooge over here, and we get an assault, so he's coming at us. We do not have our defense upgrade yet, so we're just going to defend for 3, and he's swinging for 6, so we lose 3 counters still. Brutal. We survived the turn, so that could be way worse than it was. All right, we have a Nick Fury in our discard pile, and we can play him. Is that what I want to do? I can also flip down and get to Fertile Ground here later, which seems really good. We're going to use Deft Focus to play our defense upgrades. We've got 3 of our Vines upgrades out, just thin in our deck here. We really need to remove threat if we're going to flip. So let's go ahead and... Oh, maybe we can't do that if we're going to play Nick Fury. Let's go ahead and use Strength in Numbers and Meditation with Make the Call to play Maria Hill. She'll draw us a card. Drew us 2 resource cards. That's really good. She can thwart for 2. I'm thinking about just letting the scheme pop. I don't love that idea. But I'm going to flip down and use Genius to play Fertile Ground, which will draw me a card and get me a growth counter. We'll get 2 more growth counters from Groot's ability, so we're up to 6. We're going to ready everybody up. And I'm going to assess the situation first, so I will draw to 7 cards, keeping Gamora in my hand. So 1 threat going on the main. He's going to scheme for 2 plus 0, so we lucked out there. The Armored Guard will scheme for 0. And we get a discard 1 random card from your hand. Shenanigans here from Claw. And he discards my Hawkeye, my poor Hawkeye. Clint, I was going to play you this turn. Alright, we're going to Fertile Ground up to 7 resources. And, ooh, we actually decked out there. Is that true? So we should have 1 more encounter card first. It's an Exhaustion Surge into a Hydra Jet Trooper with Quick Strike. So not a big deal. That means Clint is in our discard pile and everything else is shuffled into our deck. And away we go. Alright, so I took my 1 growth counter. I was going to draw from Fertile Ground. I was going to take 2 more growth counters from Groot's ability, so I'm up to 9. And at this point, I can flip up because I don't have a meditation. And I'm exhausted. So, double whammy. We're going to pay 1, 2, 3 for a Gamora. We're going to thwart with Maria and send her to the discard pile because we can pay 1 to make the call Maria back out and draw a card. We have 2 copies of I Am Groot, 1 of each type. So what do we want to do here? I think we want to attack with Gamora into the Tough token on the Armored Guard. And we're discarding until we find an event. It's a copy of I Am Groot. That is what she does, right? Yeah. So we could thwart all the threat away, or we could blow a dude up because we hit tough off this guy with Gamora. I think Maria can thwart pretty safely, and I think we'll use both of our I Am Groots to get through our deck a little bit faster to blow up this Armored Guard, get him out of the way. I'm actually going to blow up the other guy because he has more damage. We'll keep the Armored Guard around for another turn. That would be smarter. Smart things, Drawn 5 only. No root stomps, no nothing. Alright. 1 threat in the main. He is coming at us for a bunch, and Maria is blocking for 6. Armored Guard hits us down to 8 growth counters. We've got 1 encounter card. It is a caught off guard. I probably care about the defense upgrade the least because I have so many allies, so I'm going to discard that one. I need to search my discard pile here. I do not have a Nick Fury in my discard, but I do have to make the call in my hand, so it's a little shenanigansy here. Let's make the call with meditation and ready for action into a Maria. She'll draw us a card. We're going to have Gamora. No, we're going to have Groot lose a growth counter and blow up this guard minion. Then we'll have Gamora attack Claw. And she's going to discard cards looking for an event. She gets an assess the situation. So we're just going to deft focus slashing vines into play. We'll play 2 copies of Fruition to get to full tokens, and we'll assess to draw 6 cards in hero form. Maria can thwart the last 2 away, and I'm actually going to flip down because I can start using Fertile Ground to draw cards. And now I know Nick Fury's in my hand for next turn. So we're set up for a pretty big turn here. 1 threat going on the main. We need to draw the rest of our cards, and we assessed. So we've got Energy, Genius, Nick Fury, Kalu, Root Stomp, ready for action, assess the situation. He's going to scheme for 2 plus something. It's 2 plus 0 from a Flame Trooper. And he gets an Assault, which surges into a Weapons Runner, which surges into a Sonic Boom. So I have to exhaust everybody or spend 1 of each resource type. I have a physical that I don't mind losing. I have a mental that I don't mind losing, and I have an energy that I don't mind losing. So rather than exhausting Gamora and Maria, you know what? Let's just go ahead and exhaust them because they all have 1 health left anyway, and I don't want to. I don't want to get rid of them that way. All right, so we're going to Fertile Ground 1 card into our hand. We've got a redonkulous number of cards. We're going to flip up here and pay 4 for Nick Fury, who's going to draw us 3. Got all the cards we ever wanted in our life. Nick Fury will knock out this Weapons Runner. And we do have 10 counters, so we are safe to use Deft Focus and Strength in Numbers to I Am Groot for 10, hitting Claw down to 6. We will assess the situation, so we're jumping to 7. We will, use our Roots. Maybe we'll just play another Root Stomp for 5. Hit him down to 1 for this turn. And I've got a Kalu and a Root Stomp in my hand, which will save. And we did assess, so we're drawing 4 cards. Alright, so we've got 2 Root Stomps. That's 10 damage in our hand. We have a Kalu that might draw us into something better, so lots of good stuff going for us. He is coming at us, and Nick Fury is going to take a bunch of damage. We are in hero form, and we got one of those annoying jet troopers, so he gets to do a second attack, and he did not kill Nick Fury, but Nick Fury cannot block. Maria can. So she'll block the second attack, and he doesn't get boost cards for that attack. Alright, so unfortunately that means our encounter card is Advance. He's going to scheme for 2 plus 1, which is going to pop the main scheme. And we go hunting for a minion. There's 1 card left in the deck, and it is an Armor Guard. So acceleration token going out. They slowed down our victory right there with that Armor Guard. How annoying. I am not exhausted. Maria is exhausted. Because she blocked. Okay. We've got 10 growth counters and a Groot Stomper Stomp. Let's attack with Maria into this tough. Get it out of the way. We discard looking for events. We find and assess the situation right away and deal ourselves an encounter card. That's the unfortunate part there. Now he's only got 1 left on him. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Make the Call with Meditation, Triskelion, and assess the situation to grab Gamora back from discard. Gamora is going to go ahead and hit for 2, popping him to the next stage. So he'll go up to 22 and gain toughness. We get to discard cards looking for an event. We get strength in numbers right away. We will attack with our base attack to get rid of tough. And we'll use strength in numbers and deft focus to pay for a root stomp for 5, hitting him down to 17. And I'm pretty happy with where we are. So we're going to sit. We're going to keep root stomp and Kalu and draw 3. So we've got 2 root stomps and enough to play them. He's got 2 threat coming out, and he's coming in for 2 plus 2 boost cards. We do not have the defense upgrade anymore, but I'm afraid he's going to deal damage to me. So I am going to defend, which was good. If this was an undefended attack, we'd lose something, but he does get to attack us again afterwards, and we lose 2 growth counters. We've got 2 encounter cards. First one is an assault, so here he comes again. We're just going to take it to the growth counters here. We're taking 3 growth counters away, and he got another Hydrojet Trooper for another 2 growth counters. So we're down to 3. What an annoying conundrum. And a Armored Guard of Doom that never goes away. Super useful. Alright, Gamora's going to hit tough off of that annoying guy. And we're going to search for events. We get and assess the situation. Who's in our discard pile here? Nobody, actually. Bummer. But we can play a Kalu. So this is how I always look at the top 5 cards when I remember. Flip my cards over, look at the top 5. I can grab an event. There is an I Am Groot there, but I only have 3 tokens. And what else is in my hand? 2 root stomps. I'm already not playing everything. Let's grab and assess the situation instead. Alright. We have not deft focuses yet this turn, but we will deft focus with root stomp and make the call for 5 into this guard minion. Get another counter. We will play 2 copies of Assess the Situation, and Kalu will thwart for 1. So we are drawing up to 7 in hero form, so we're drawing 6 cards. 2 threat going out, and he is going to attack us, and Kalu is going to block for 2. And 2 Flame Troopers, but this was not an undefended attack, thankfully. 1 encounter card, it's a Weapons Runner Surger into a Sonic Boom. Exhaust everybody. Oh, I don't have a choice because I don't have any energy resources, so we will get Sonic Boomed. We have 2 resources, a double resource and a Maria Hill, so we will definitely take advantage of that. We will use Meditation and Deft Focus to play a Root Stomp to get rid of the minion and get another growth counter. We will use Fruition to get 2 more growth counters, so we're up to 7. Maria will definitely thwart for 2. And we've got one of our damage I Am Groots in hand, so we will use it to deal 7 to the boss, hitting him down to 10. We're in striking distance now. 2 threat going on the main. And we should draw our cards up to 5. No damage, just allies in our hand. What a bummer. Alright, he's got 2 things coming into Maria. She ends up taking just 2 damage. Bunch of boosts that did nothing. And we've got a Claw heals 2, you lose 2. Bummer. Sound manipulation. Destroying us today. Alright, Gamora's going to punch him for 2, and we're looking for events. We get a strength in numbers, and Gamora goes away. But we've got him down to 10. I'm going to use We Are Groot and strength in numbers to play an Ironheart, drawing card. We draw into Vine Shield, which we will play with... Would I rather play a Fruition? I think I'd rather play a Fruition. Let's see here. Ironheart can punch for 1. We could put 2 resources into Ant-Man, and he could punch for 2. We only want to put 1 resource into him, is that right? We're going to put 1 resource into him. No, we'll put 2 into him. That's fine. And we'll switch which 2 we did so we can play a Fruition. That's how we cheat over here. We're going to swing in for 4 using, where is it here? Vine Spikes. I'm losing a growth counter. So we're down to 6 growth counters. But we've got 2 allies. So we're drawing 5 cards. Drew into a Nick Fury. All we got to do is live, really. 2 threat going out, and he's swinging into Ironheart for 4. Ironheart is gone. And he gets a Sonic Converter. So yeah, bingo bango. We can actually be even cuter here. And we can kill him with I Am Groot, because it does 4 damage. We've got, or 6 damage. We've got 6 growth counters left. We took him out with this cool Groot Leadership deck. Alright, so just running through the deck one more time. You've got 7 allies. From Leadership, we have Ant-Man, Hawkeye, Kalu, and Maria Hill. From Basic, we have Gamora, Ironheart, and Nick Fury. We're really focusing on allies that dig through our deck, get us the cards we want, and also allies that are cheap and can keep us inflated with growth counters. We've got some things that help us set up growth counters using Root Stomp, so I'm looking at Hawkeye and Gamora and things like that, Kalu. Overall, pretty good ally set. We've got 23 events. We've got all of our signature events. We've got our 2 I Am Groots, our 2 I Am Groots, our 1 We Are Groot, and our 3 Root Stomps and 2 Fruitions. We've got 3 copies of Make the Call, 3 copies of Ready for Action, which we didn't use much in that match, but I do like it for extending the life of like a Maria Hill for another turn. 2 Strength in Numbers, and then we bring 3 Assess the Situation and 2 Meditation, which I'd really like to get rid of. We didn't see much use in those at all. We've got 3 resources, Energy, Genius, and Strength. For supports, we've got Fertile Ground and Triskelion, again, in case you need to go 4 wide with Strength and Numbers. For upgrades, we've got 1 copy of Deft Focus, and then our 4 Vine upgrades from Groot's kit. You can see our cost curve over here is pretty tight. We've got 13 cards costing 0 or less, 11 cards at the 1 cost, 8 at the 2 cost, 4 at the 3, and just 1 at the 4, which is Nick Fury. So very smooth cost curve going down as we go up in cost, so that you can always do lots of things on your turn, especially because if you play Nick Fury, you're drawing more cards, and all those cards are going to cost less than him, so you can almost afford any card you draw with whatever he draws himself. So that is the Groot We Are Groot Leadership deck tech. Really strong against people that don't have indirect damage and other ways to do damage outside of combat. If you get your Nemesis set shuffled in, and if you're playing against Claw with that Treachery that heals 2 and deals 2, it could be a little bit tighter. That's why our game took a little bit longer than intended, but still a super fun deck. So if you haven't tried out Groot outside of Justice or outside of Protection, definitely check him out in Leadership. He can be a super fun team player or solo player with the blue aspect. Thanks for tuning in, and have a great day.